People are rarely who they seem to be. Lurking beneath their polite, affable exterior is inevitably a dark shadow side consisting of insecurities and aggressive, selfish impulses that repress and carefully conceal from public view. Yo, what's good, YouTube? The Sharper here, back with another video for you guys, man. I hope you guys doing great, man. I appreciate you guys for coming and tuning into the video, seeing what I got to say today. Today we're gonna talk about me overcoming the fear of being myself, or you overcoming the fear of being you. You being your truest self. You operating in a manner that you don't feel ashamed to be who you are. That's very important when it comes to personal development and when it comes to becoming the greatest version of ourselves. We have to be able to walk in totality with ourselves, be comfortable with who we are. So let's talk about it. Let's get into it. All right. The first step will be self-awareness. We have to know what's going on with ourselves in order to find solutions and to the problems that we have or the issues that we may have with ourselves, what we want to improve on. We have to be aware of what we're not as good as we think we are at, or what we don't think we're good enough at ourselves. We got to be self-aware. Self-awareness is the first step, I believe. So I'm gonna give an example of me. The first, I have the tendency to overshare, right? So I attribute that to not being not being in a position to be exposed. I don't want to be in a position where you thought I was one person, but I'm actually another. I never want to feel like I never want to put myself in that position, because I've been in that position and it didn't feel good when I was exposed for me being who I really am. I don't want to live a life where I'm ashamed of parts of myself that others will eventually find out. I don't want to be in that position. So now I have the tendency to overshare, overextend myself when it comes to me explaining myself. Now I'm in a and which is not good, because you don't want to overexpose yourself to people, because then use that they could potentially use that against you. So you don't want to overextend, but you don't want to lock yourself in a box to where nobody can get in. So you got to have balance between the two, right? So me, I have a problem with oversharing. I've been in that spot where I was locked in that box. That's not a good feeling. Not being able to express yourself, and people trying to understand who you are, but you're not opening up. You don't want to be in that position as well, because either way, you're not giving off, you're not showing people who you really are. You're not exposing them to the good and bad about yourself. So you want to have balance when it comes to letting people in. What I have to have balance when it comes to letting people in and not giving too much. So that's what I got to work on, oversharing. So I said it to say you have to be self-aware of the good and bad about yourself. So there it is, self-awareness. Become self-aware. Know what you're lacking in. Know what you need to work on. All of that. Next, we're going to be talking about integrating your shadow, integrating those those parts of you that you're ashamed of, those parts of you that you fear people seeing. We have to integrate some of those characteristics into our personality that we show the world. We have to integrate them so we can live in totality, so we can feel whole, so we can be fulfilled, right? You're only going to be fulfilled when you're walking in your truest self. And that's the part of being the greatest version of yourself, right? Being able to walk in that, being able to walk in the image of the creator, right? So in order to walk in the image of the creator, you got to walk in our truest selves. We got to show the world who we really are. And I'm not saying overshare, like I said, not oversharing yourself, but being able to have a balance between that, right? So one thing that comes to mind when I hear about interpretate and integrating your shadow is self-acceptance. Those those characteristics that you have in that shadow, those characteristics you hide in that shadow, some of those characteristics are very good to have. So you have to accept those characteristics. You got to be, you need to be comfortable with be comfortable with using some of those characteristics, because that's what's going to really make you different from everyone else. Everybody got things that they're ashamed of, things that they're fear of showing the world. But that's what makes us all different. That's what makes us that's what makes us different. Using those characteristics that we're ashamed of and incorporating into our personality, like I said, that makes you feel whole, that makes you feel fulfilled. So we need those characteristics. Some people will call them your toxic traits. Everybody has toxic traits, and everybody needs to use some of them. Don't go in there and take all your toxic traits out the bag and incorporate your personality. Now you just no, you don't want to do that. You got to have balance. Like I said, you don't want to have too many toxic traits, and then this personality, this good side of you. Who's to say that's even a good person? That person could be. We ain't gonna get into that. That's a whole other tangent. But getting some of those characteristics and using them to become the greatest version of yourselves. We 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 don't need to be afraid of those parts of ourselves that we have, because everybody has them. Everybody has those negative sides of themselves. So use some of them in order to walk in that light, walk in that greatest version of yourself. We're gonna move on to the next one. Being open to vulnerability. When you pulling out those, it's gonna be hard to put those characteristics out the bag. It's not. I'm making it sound easy, but it's not easy. It's definitely not easy. First, you got to be aware that they're there. Then you got to look in that bag and you see all these toxic traits. I don't even say they're toxic. You see all these traits that you have that you're ashamed of, and you pick one out. You're gonna say, "Hey, I'm gonna use this in order to walk in that image." When you pick one out that bag and you don't necessarily like that characteristic, but you need it. Like I said, it's what makes you different. You need to use it, and if you don't use it, then guess what? You're still gonna be walking. You're still gonna be walking in a way that you're not as comfortable with yourself. So once you pick one of those out of the bag and you use it, then you show a different side of yourself. People see a different side of you. They can see when you're angry, and they can see when you're good. They can see when you're happy. You need to. That's what makes you different from everybody else. You don't want to fit in. I'm gonna say you don't want to fit in with everybody else. You don't want to be seen as this person that doesn't get angry, because we all get angry. People need to see that so they can see you in totality, and you need to be able to express that to people, that you do have that side of you. So when they can see you, they can see he's walking or she's walking in that light, in their full selves, right? So being open to vulnerability, we need to do it. We have to do it, because that's what's going to make us whole. We got to be able to be open to being vulnerable and exploring those characteristics in the bag. We got to be able to look at each one of those and see how they can incorporate in our personality that we show the world, right? We have to look in that bag and be like, I'm gonna try all of them out, and the ones I don't like or that's not benefiting me, I can put them back in the bag. But those that are benefiting me on that trial run, we're gonna take them and then we're gonna use them consistently and watch how their personality grows, however that may be. Watch how that person becomes different over time when you're consistently using that trait. So explore the shadow, explore it. Be vulnerable when exploring the shadow, because we need it. We need the shadow. We can't hide the shadow. The shadow is what makes us different. So next, we're gonna talk about, man, this is a lifetime of work. This don't just happen overnight. It's gonna be you may use all the characteristics in this bag as you grow older, as you grow as a human. You may use all of these in different parts of your lives. So as you get older, you using those characteristics, boom, 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 boom. Then I just say from 20 to the age 60, you're a whole different person. I ain't gonna say you're a whole different person, but you're more expressive if you weren't before, or you're more You tend to be more, you tend to like yourself more in solitude, whatever that may be, that opposite version of you or what you've grown from. It takes time. This is a lifetime of work. Like I said, there's versions of me that I'm gonna say there's one version of me that I'm pulling out of the bag and I'm incorporating and I'm moving in that image. And you can see me as you see this YouTube channel progress. You're gonna see me grow. You're gonna see me. You may see me speaking differently. You may see me operating in a different manner. I'm I'm showing you the growth of me from now to however long I do this, right? So this takes time. This ain't no overnight thing. Those characteristics take just how those characteristics take time to consistently use, because first of all, you got to be vulnerable. You got to explore them. And then once you pick one, you got to use them consistently. And then your personality decides to develop. But first of all, you got to be self-aware that they're even there. And you got to think about how long they've been there in that bag. That bag has sunk deeper and deeper as you get older, as you grow. That bag sinks. We've been repressing it this whole time. So once you pull it out, it's gonna take a long time for you to even walk in that image. It's gonna take time for you to incorporate that. So you gotta be understanding of that. It's a lifetime of work to become the greatest version of ourselves. Who we may see ourselves in 5 years may not be who we see ourselves at 60 or 50 or 70, however long, right? So this takes time. It's going and it's deliberate work. It's work you have to initiate. It's saying you have to be intentional with doing the work. Like they call it shadow work, being able to use those characteristics and implement them, whatever we see may benefit us. It's called shadow work. We have to heal those traumas. We have to heal those those negative connotations that we have about ourselves, or those negative parts that we don't want people to see. We need those characteristics to integrate to be whole again. So we're gonna go on to the next topic. The hardest part, the hardest part about this whole thing is the hardest part is the hardest part is starting. That's the hardest part is starting. So first, you got being self-aware. You got to integrate it. You got to be open to vulnerability, and you got to realize it's going to take a long time. But the hardest part is seeing them and then using them. Being intentional with using those parts. Being intentional with using those characteristics. Like I get on this camera every week, every 2 weeks. I have to be intentional with doing it because, like I said in the previous videos, 2 years ago you wouldn't have seen me put up no camera. I wouldn't have had the confidence to get on the camera and say what I'm saying now. So I had to be intentional with using that characteristic that I had repressed. So I encourage you to find out what you find out. Look in that bag of characteristics that you may want to use. Pick one. Boom. Now you got to be intentional with using it every so often. It may you may it may take. I just say you try to use it every once a month. Then as time goes by, you start incorporating it in your day-to-day life. You got to be intentional with using that characteristic. Like I said, me picking up the camera, recording videos every week, TikToks. I never would have thought about doing that 2 years ago. I would have been scared. Sometimes I get scared now. No, I really don't, because I'm working an image. But yeah, the hardest part is starting, man. That's with anything new outside of our comfort zone. It's starting. That's the hardest part. And I'm saying it, and it may sound easy, but that's not it. It took me a minute to even pick up the camera. It took me a long time to pick up the camera because I knew what I was supposed to be doing when I found my purpose. So, and it took me a minute to even pick up the camera. Like I said, the hardest part is starting. And once you start, man, you're intentional with being consistent with it, it gets better over time. It gets better. This personal development journey, it gets better over time. So and then you gotta enjoy the process. You know how it works. You know how it goes. So the hardest part is starting. I encourage you to find something that's in that bag. Like I've been saying, find something in that bag and implement it. You are already aware of what that is. Pick one. That's all I can say is pick one of those. So we're gonna recap. Overcoming the fear of being yourself. How I'm overcoming the fear of being myself is understanding where you are in your personal development journey, and how you want to treat others, and how you want people to treat you. Understand where you are in that journey. Like I'm just starting. Well, I've been doing it because I've been aware, but I'm just now implementing and using those traits that's in that bag. Know where you are in your journey. Second, showing the parts of you that's been hidden. You're aware of these characters, these traits. You want to begin to show those characteristics. Being able to open up to people, or some people, with those characteristics, being able to walk in confidence in that image. That's the second part, is showing the parts of you that you've kept hidden all these years. And once you start to do that, you start to feel better about yourself. Like I said, the self-worth factor. Once you start showing people who you really are, and they're acceptant of their version of you, then you start getting that confidence. You start building that self-esteem up. You start, you get more happy. You start, you know, you know how I go, man. You want to acknowledge and accept the criticism and judgment you may get back from it. Some people might not like that version of you that you're showing, those characteristics that you displaying now. Some people might not like it, and you need to be accepting of that. And not everybody's gonna accept you for who you are. That's what it is. Some people might not like me getting on the camera and speaking. Who knows? But I have to accept, and I have to be acceptant accepted for their opinions. I have to be mindful of criticism and accept constructive criticism about me speaking on the camera, what I could improve on, and all of that. So you gotta acknowledge and accept those those characteristics that you're developing. People might not like them, and that's what it is. It could, it may or may not matter to you. It really don't, but that's what comes with it. Acknowledging and accepting criticism. Okay, yeah, like I said before, it won't happen overnight. It's a lifetime of work. This takes time to develop yourself. It takes years. It can take years. You gotta be. You have to accept that it won't happen overnight. That person, those characteristics that you kept hidden for so long, man, just picking one out the jar, one out the bag might be hard. So be don't rush yourself in the process. Be happy with where you are, and acknowledging that you are where you are, and being happy that you're even picking out the jar, out the bag. So it won't happen overnight, and you got to be content with it not happening overnight, because it's a journey. Like I said before, it's a journey. You gotta love the journey. You gotta appreciate the journey. You gotta appreciate you becoming that person. And the last point, starting, being intentional with going on your personal development journey. Being intentional with using that characteristics you pick. You got to be intentional with using it. Be intentional with implementing it. So that's what I say. Starting is the hardest part. That's what any skill. That's what your dreams. That's what anything that you aspire to do. Starting is the hardest part. And I want to read a quote out. I've been reading. Well, I ain't been reading it. I just got back into it. The laws of human nature. It says the law of repression. People who rarely People are rarely who they seem to be. Lurking beneath their polite, affable exterior is inevitably a dark shadow side consisting of insecurities and aggressive, selfish impulses they repress and carefully conceal from public view. This dark side leaks out in behavior that will baffle and harm you. Learn to recognize the signs of the shadow before they become toxic. See people's overt traits, toughness, saintliness, etc., as covering up the opposite quality. You must become aware of your own dark side and being conscious of it, and you control and channel the creative energies that lurk in your unconscious. By integrating the dark side into your personality, you will be a more complete human and will radiate an authenticity that will draw people to you. When you walk in that image, people are going to be attracted to you because that's who you really are. That's your God. That's your God power. That's who you're. Like I said, you're made in the image of the Creator. People are attracted to the Creator, right? So, man, look into that bag. See what's in that bag. See what. See what's. You already know what's in there. Pick one, implement it. It sounds easy, but it's not easy. I ain't gonna sit here and cap and say it's easy, because it took me a long time to even pick one out the bag. So I encourage you guys, look into that bag, see which one you can implement in your personality, so you can be fulfilled, so you can be whole. That's the best part about life, man. Being able to feel whole, being walking in confidence and having good self esteem. I think when you walking in that like, I just feel like life's great for you, no matter the ups or downs. That you just feel good about yourself, and I believe that's the best part about becoming the greatest version of self, the greatest version of yourself. Being able to walk as a whole person, being happy and content, being at peace with yourself and who you are and where you're going with your life, right? So I appreciate you guys for watching the video, man. Like, comment, subscribe. What's your thoughts about it? What which one of those characteristics did you feel like you can implement into your character, into your personality, that's gonna take you to a whole nother level, to where people can vibe with you, to where you can attract great people? Which one of those characteristics did you feel like that'll help you become who you supposed to be, become who you dream to be? Put in the comments. If you want, message me or something. I don't know. We can talk about it. We can talk about it. So I appreciate you guys for watching the video, man. I know it's been a minute. I think it's been a minute. I don't know if it's been 1, 2 weeks since I uploaded. But I appreciate you guys for watching the video, man. Like, comment, subscribe. We finna get out of here. Peace.